Hi guys, Tuesday 9th of April, just gone midday here in London. As you can see from the calendar on my right hand side, pretty quiet on the data front this morning. Has resembled that. We've had a couple of comments out of Brexit, but other than that, relatively quiet, which is usually the case post non-farm payrolls, which we had last Friday. Yesterday was relatively subdued, other than oil and gold and S&P hitting a key milestone. Going into the back end of the European session, the US session beginning now, pretty quiet as well. The only thing of note, I would say, is the API's 9:30 UK time. So having a quick look over at the charts, one of the main markets everyone's talking about at the moment, the S&P just reaching on the futures 2900. Pretty key barrier, as has been any resistance point over the last sort of couple of weeks. Once we hit these key levels, you can see the reaction is pretty good. Each time we have a brief pause, and then almost on the second or third attempt we do break through. So be keeping an eye on that 2900, a break above that, and I do think we'll get those final sort of 43 points relatively quickly. Dropping it down more intraday, an area to be aware of, I would say, is anywhere obviously looking at yesterday's low, but just a bit above that. Regarding the pivot level on the futures, the S1 looks quite an interesting point, coming in around 28.88 on the dot. I'll be keeping an eye on how we trade around there. For now, sentiment I think remains to the upside, but I'll just be very careful keeping an eye on what happens around 2900, a break above that. And I do think it will come quite quickly. A market, as we know, that's been heavily correlated with the S&P is oil. $65 as a sort of psychological handle, I think, will be pretty key as well. So the S&P at 2900, the oil market on the futures around 65, and you can see the importance of this area going back to last August, May and June. Wouldn't be all too surprising to see maybe a bit of a top around this point. So again, worth keeping an eye on how we trade around those levels. If they were to break, then you're going to imagine the S&P is going to also follow suit. Worth keeping an eye on the open in a couple of hours to see how we perform there. Yesterday on the open around 2 p.m. UK time, we did come back down, and it was pretty much the low of the day around that point before pushing higher. And you can see it was also a pretty good level of resistance that we tested on Friday as well before that push up yesterday. That in turn has helped drag the Canadian dollar higher. As you can see here, yesterday a really strong day for the CAD, and that has continued today. And if oil keeps pushing, the same thing's gonna happen today as well. Aussie dollar, just on the slight weakness of the US dollar this morning, has continued its push higher. An area I would really be interested in to see a reaction would be on the break of this trend line that you see that happened overnight. We have retested it, but also the last week's high, the range, the top end of that range. If we can get a retest of that around 71.41, I would expect to see a decent reaction for the buyers to look to start coming in. Similar with euro, having broken above that range, but actually looking just a bit higher on the R2, the breakdown that we had on the 26th of last month, as a quite key place to have marked up. Gold intraday level, trend line from yesterday morning's lows has been well respected throughout yesterday afternoon into this morning, would match up around the pivot just above the 1300 handle. So how we react around there, should we get down again, will also be pretty important. So just a quick overview of that calendar again. Pretty quiet for the remainder of the day, set to pick up tomorrow and get slightly more interesting from the data front. Hope you all have a good trading day ahead of you, and any questions, please do let me know.